So today we're doing a soft, glowy, everyday makeup routine with all drugstore products. This is something I do every single day in 10 to 15 minutes. It just kind of depends. If you want to see how I got this look, go ahead and keep watching. Okay, so we're ready to go ahead and get started. First thing we're going to do is go ahead and prime the skin. I'm using the e.l.f. Poreless Putty Primer. So this I like to focus right in my pore area, and then I'll put some down here, and a little bit on the forehead. Obviously this does fill in your pores, but also I like to use it just as a basic primer, just so everything grips really nicely to the skin. So I'll take this and just press in here. Something I learned, pressing rather than just like swiping and rubbing all over the face, that actually does help fill in the pores a lot more. And it'll give you a nice smooth canvas. And I do have larger pores, so that's definitely something I like to do. And the rest of my face I'll just kind of rub. But right here, I like to really press and make sure everything's nice and smooth. And as you can see, I have an uneven skin tone. I have larger pores, I have some texture, so I really like a full coverage foundation. Today I'm going to use the Revlon PhotoReady Candid Natural Finish Anti-Pollution Foundation. I use the shade 350. My face is a bit lighter than the rest of my body just because I self-tan my body and then I apply tan to my face as well. It's not nearly as dark. I just like to have a little bit there so that I don't have like a stark white face and a darker body. So I'm just blending this out. I'm just pouncing everywhere. And you want to make sure when you're using your sponge not to swipe or drag or anything like that, especially where we applied that primer to fill in the pores, just because that's going to undo all the work we just did. Something tricky for me is since I have such light hair, I have to really be careful around the hairline. Otherwise, like you'll see, it's really noticeable when I'm not wearing makeup. You can see like an orange tint of makeup that's left over in my hair. So even after everything's blended, I like to go over 1 or 2 times more just to soak up any extra product that we have left over. And on a daily basis, I do love this foundation. It's soft, it blends nicely, it doesn't break up or crease. Some foundations I'll get creasing right in the smile lines. But this one's pretty nice, it holds up really well. The flashback on it is pretty bad. I'm not sure why it's called the PhotoReady, because every single time I've used it, I've had terrible flashback. Like my whole face is lit up. So next for concealer, I'm going to use the e.l.f. 16-Hour Camo Concealer. I use 2 shades for this for my under eyes. So I have the 2 shades here. The lighter one is Fair Beige and the darker is Medium Sand. So I'll first go in with Medium Sand and apply. And I like to use this to correct any dark circles I have, and also to highlight the center of the face. It looks like a lot, but I'm also going to use that to highlight the center of my forehead, down my nose, Cupid's bow area, and the center of the chin. And then I mix in just a touch of this shade, just like a dot of it. Once I have it applied like this, I like to wait about 30-45 seconds just to kind of let it set itself down a little bit. So then when we go and blend out, we're not just spreading everything around. It'll kind of already set to our face a little bit and it'll provide us more coverage. Okay, so we're ready to go ahead and blend out. I'm just going to take my same sponge and start on the inner corner where we have that lighter shade and kind of blend it into everything else. And I like to take my concealer following my lash line. Same thing where how I would swoop my winged liner up that way. It's just gonna make the eyes look nice and lifted. And then like I said, I'll drag this down. And this concealer as well, I wouldn't use this if I'm going on a night out. The flashback is really, really bad. We went to Las Vegas over the summer and we were taking a picture and I was like, oh, let me see. And I looked at it and my under eyes were like stark white. It was really, really bad. And I hadn't even noticed that the flashback was that bad until that picture, and I was like, whoa. I'll just take the residual concealer, drag it down up on the forehead as well. I don't like to apply concealer directly to my forehead. I find that it can look a little heavy in that area, so I'll just take whatever's left and press that in. And I feel like the key to not having a heavy looking face, which I used to be really, really bad about this, the key is really just to keep going over everything so your sponge can soak up anything that's not needed there and that's not, you know, really adhering to the skin. You'll have as minimal product there as possible. Another good drugstore concealer that's really, really nice that doesn't have any flashback is the Maybelline, I think it's Age Rewind eraser or something like that. It's the one with the little foam top, but that one's really, really nice. And I'll go ahead and just take some powder. This is my Wet n Wild Photo Focus Translucent Powder. I love this, and it does really, it smooths everything out. It makes your skin look so blurred and smooth and nice. So I'll go ahead and apply this. And for my everyday look, I don't bake or anything. I just kind of start tapping on. And I do set my whole face, just because some days, it really depends. My skin type is kind of combination. Some days I'm very, very dry, like all over, and then some days I'll be a little bit oily in the T-zone, but when the oil comes through, she's through. So I really like to make sure that I set my face, and especially with how the weather has been so off and on lately. One day it's really, really cold, which makes my skin drier, and then one day it's really nice outside, and that's, you know, the humidity is a little bit thicker, and that's when my face will really kind of get a little bit oily. So I'll set all over my eyelids, underneath my eyes. Something to make sure you're doing when you're setting your under eyes, make sure you're getting as close to this lash line as possible, so that way we won't have any liner run or mascara or anything. So I'm just dusting off any excess that we might have. And I did dip in. I like to take my powder and just pour a little bit into the cap, and I did dip in several times, but each time I'm doing that, I kind of just press in a little bit, and then I go like this and just dust everything off. So we're not going in with too much of a heavy hand. I'm just setting the neck since we did drag some foundation down there. So lately I've been using the e.l.f. Instant Lift Brow Pencil. I'll take the side with the spoolie and I'll just brush all of my brow hairs up. And I really like to go for like the natural kind of fluffy brow look. I don't like anything too carved or harsh. So I'm brushing all of these up, and then I'll take the other side with the pencil, and I think I have the shade Taupe. So I'll go ahead and just start filling in underneath. I like to start on the lower part of the arch and just very, very lightly fill that in, going above. I mostly just fill in the sparse areas, and since they are pretty light, I will just shape them out a little bit more, make them look a little thicker than they are. So go above. I think the key with brows is just to be as light as possible. I think they can be overdone very, very easily. So just going in with a very light hand, and with the front part of the brow, I'll just kind of flick like this, make some little strokes. Go ahead and take a clear brow gel, and this is really going to pick up all of the excess product we have. It's going to fluff out the brows, really define them, make them look more natural. So I'll take this. It's the e.l.f. Clear Brow and Lash Mascara. So there's one side for brows, one side for lashes. I've never used a lash side, but I'll go ahead and take this. It started out clear, and then obviously dipping in with the pigment, it's kind of turned it brown a little bit. Same thing as we did before. I'll just brush all of my brow hairs up. Okay, so next we're gonna go ahead and just bronze the skin. Lately, I've been using the Wet n Wild Color Icon bronzer in the shade Sunset Strip Tea. So I'll take my, I think it's Kala number 483. It just looks like this. It's very, very dense. And I like this to start out with. I actually use two brushes for my bronzer. And I like to go in, I just kind of stamp. A trick with this is to start out higher than you actually need to. So I know the hollows of my cheeks are down here. I'll make sure that the edge of my brush is on the very, very edge of that. So I'll start out higher than I think I need to. And then on the forehead as well. So we're gonna look crazy for a second. We're gonna blend everything out. Okay, so now I'll go in with my e.l.f. blush brush. So it's really gonna blend and buff everything out. So I'll dip in with this, tap off all the excess, and just go in circular motions. And with this, I'm not trying to add any extra product. I like to put that powder on just so we have a nice slip on the brush and we can really glide over. And something with me with blonde hair as well is I kind of blend this into the hairline so you don't see that harsh line. And I think the key with bronzer is making sure your face is totally set with the translucent powder before you apply. That's what can really make things look muddy and like you have a very harsh line. It's not going to be soft and gradient. If you hear a background noise, it's the dog. He's laying right next to me and he really wants attention. And on a daily basis, I don't go on my jaw or anything. I'll just kind of take what I have on here and hit it so I feel a little better. And then I'll go ahead and take that first brush we used. I don't add anything extra on it. I'll just take whatever's left and just go down the nose a little bit. Just very, very lightly, kind of like this, just to warm it up a little. It's actually funny. I had my makeup done for my senior prom like years ago, and I was sitting there and the girl goes, "So, I have to ask." I said, "Yeah?" She goes, "Is your nose broken?" I said, "No." And I had never even noticed that my nose is a little crooked until she said that, and I was like, I'm next gonna go in with this blush from e.l.f. It's in the shade Always Cheeky. So I'm gonna take that same blush brush that I actually used for bronzer and dip into this and go ahead and apply. This blush is nice because it's matte, so there's not shimmer in it, but it still gives the skin a little sheen. I don't like a shimmery blush only because, like I said, I do have larger pores and that can really exaggerate those. So I'll go ahead and just kind of pounce everywhere, make sure nothing is looking harsh. Okay, so next I'm gonna go in with some highlight. So I'm going to take my Wet n Wild MegaGlo highlighting powder in the shade Golden Flower Crown. It comes, I think there's 3 or 4 different shades. I have all of them. I love this. It's so nice. It doesn't draw out any texture. So I'll just hit the high point of my cheek and lightly on the edge. And then I'll just take a little bit here, here, and just lightly down the nose. And then a little on the Cupid's bow as well. Next for eyeshadow, I'm gonna go in with the ColourPop Double Entendre palette, I think is how you say this. So I'm gonna go in with my JH32 brush, and I'm just gonna take Extracurricular and Nip Slip. Don't judge me by the names, it's called the Newts palette. I'm gonna mix both of these together, tap off the excess, and just go right in the crease. And my goal with this isn't to have a dramatic look, it's mostly just to add some definition in there so we can bring some depth back into the lids. And this is my everyday look, like I do this almost every single day. Without talking and sitting here explaining, I can do this in 10-15 minutes. And I do go in with a full face, but I really enjoy doing makeup in the morning. Like, I like it and it makes me feel good throughout the day. No, sit, sit. Okay, so next I'm going in with the liner, same liner as last time, Wet n Wild's MegaLiner. This is my favorite right now. I'm gonna go ahead and just do a small little wing. Next, hit it with some mascara. This is the Essence Get Big Lashes Volume Boost Mascara. I use this every single day. I know it's gonna work, I know it won't clump, and I know it's not gonna run either. No. What do you think you're doing? Get over here and lay down. Okay, so we have 2 more steps. We're gonna highlight the inner corner with that same highlighter, and then I'm using the JH39 pencil brush, and I'll just hit the inner corner. And this is a step that I love. I think it really brightens up the eyes, it opens them up, it makes you look nice and awake. So we have that done, so we're looking radiant, we're looking cute. So last thing is lips. So I'm gonna go in with a liner. I'm gonna use the LA Girl Perfect Precision liner in the shade Cafe, and then I'm gonna top that with the Morphe matte lipstick in the shade Honey. Yay, Bubba's. I know, I love you, I love you. Okay, get down. Okay, so going in with this, just gonna top it off. Okay, so last thing is I'm gonna go ahead and set the face with the Urban Decay All Nighter Makeup Setting Spray. I love this one. I love the Wet n Wild Natural Finish Setting Spray. I like the Pixie Glow one. I'm gonna fan this off. I wanna get one of those little fans that everyone has that they're just like drying their face off. So that is gonna complete this look. My next upload will be Sunday at 3 p.m. I think I'm actually gonna do the Scott Barnes Bubba Knock It Off challenge or method or whatever, where he does basically everything in reverse, where it's concealer, contour, foundation on top. I think that's what I'm gonna do. If you saw the video with Scott Barnes and Tati, I know Laura Lee recreated it and Casey Holmes. But I think I'm gonna do that, and that'll be up on Sunday. I'm also working on getting a backdrop for behind me to make everything look a little nicer. So hopefully by the time that video's up, that'll include the new background and it'll look a little more profesh. Okay, so that is gonna complete today's look. If you wanna see my Scott Barnes recreation that will be up on Sunday, go ahead and hit the post notification bell so you're notified every time I upload. Go ahead and please consider subscribing if you liked today's video. Leave a comment down below of anything you'd like to see. I will see you guys next time.